Cornering with probes, controlled exits and entries with pendulum steps, corralling with looping shots. He's never where you want him to be, but he's always where he needs to be. That's positioning. Normally I differentiate distance control and positioning into two separate categories. Distance is the measure of the space between two fighters. So if they're 5 feet apart, that's distance. But positioning, I say, this is how I describe it. Where are the individual parts of a fighter at a particular given time? So where are their hands, shoulders, elbows, feet, head, and so forth. But positioning is also a second piece. It's also where are the fighters in the ring? What position are they in the ring? Someone can be positioned in the corner, be positioned against the ropes, be positioned in the center of the ring. So those are the two concepts: distance control and positioning. Now Bivol is somebody I would likely argue is a substantial master of both. So Bivol starts off doing two things in the second round. He starts off working with the lead hand, constantly invading that space between him and Arthur, and you see Arthur countering, trying to do the same. There's that territory, that neutral space between them that both of them are trying to take over. And the other thing he's doing is with his feet. So he has this rhythm where he's stepping in, bouncing, he's taking over the territory down below. So there's two places he's trying to take over territory. He's trying to take over territory with his hands in that space up top, and then he's also taking the space between them. And that right foot is rarely fully planted. He's usually has that heel up a little bit to keep spring in his step in case he wants to get in or get out. And then the other thing is that what's Arthur doing? He's backing up. So he's trying to respond by keeping his lead hand out there to also control that territory. But Arthur also wants to have more distance between them, so he's backing up. And so since Arthur is preoccupied with what's going on up top, you see him constantly working with that lead hand, trying to keep control of that territory. He's constantly looking up top, constantly looking up top. What does Bivol do? He knows that, he wants that, so he can go underneath. One thing you'll notice is that a lot of Bivol's opponents end up with their back against the ropes. This is no coincidence. His feints, not only with his hands, but with his feet and his entire body, make his opponents react. Notice the sequence of events. So Bivol's gonna jab. What's Arthur gonna do? Back up, okay? And when Bivol's gonna make another move, this time he's gonna feint the level change. What's Arthur gonna do? Back up even more, okay? And then what's he gonna do again? He's gonna step in, probe, and that probe is gonna get another reaction out of Arthur. Now Arthur's back is completely against the ropes. So Bivol is purposefully cornering him, so positioning in the ring. Those other parts of his game I like, but this part of his game I love. Constant guard manipulation and occupation. So that thing he did right there, that wasn't even the utilization of a punch. It was more so a tool, a slap on the guard, just to manipulate it, just to play with it, just to keep him guessing. But then those tools, what makes him so effective is that he has a constant mixing of tools and weapons. So things that aren't meant to do damage mixed with things that are. So you're constantly guessing, is he just playing around or is he jabbing me in the face? And then he'll level change. Is he jabbing me to the body or is he jabbing me up top? He's jabbing you up top. And then is he just jabbing me or is he throwing something else behind it? He's hitting you with a cross. And then he's going to spring back. And you're like, okay, maybe I got a chance to breathe. And then she's feinting again, and you're like, uh-oh. And then he puts out the lead hand. But is it a jab, or is it like, what is it? Nope, it's another tool. It's a probe. He's measuring distance. So he's mixing in tools and weapons. And then he does another little slap on the guard. You like, is that a left hook? Nope, it's not. And is that a cross? Yes, it is, but it's not even a real cross. So some of these shots is thrown with no power, but they're still confusing. They're still adding to the mixture of chaos. Cross, Arthur's avoiding some of this, but it's an onslaught. I think in this sequence he throws like 24 punches. Boom, uninterrupted punches. He's following up, left hook, cross. So the left hook brings the guard around and the cross comes up the middle in a new opening. And then Bivol backs him up, corners him again. Notice how he's cornered again. Bivol's walking him down, probes, tapping him, guard manipulation. So it's a mix of tools in there. And then it's an actual punch. And then it's another jab. And then that's a tool. It's a throwaway to bring the guard up. And then he's working to the body. It's constant confusion because you don't know where he's going or what he's going to do. But you have to respect it, because if you don't show respect to one move, that one move can get stacked on top of by 24 other punches. And all of a sudden you against the ropes, you get hit to the liver, and then he's blasting you some more, and then you take a knee. From the point of view of an audience member or onlooker, somebody like Bivol would seem to have predictable patterns and shot selection, but fighting somebody like Bivol is a hefty task because he's really one of the more unpredictable fighters to go against. Despite having a pretty set in stone style. Like, you know how Bivol's going to fight, you know what he's going to do. Well, we know what he's going to do, but if you were fighting against him, let's say you're Arthur or you're Canelo or you're Zerdo, if you're fighting him, his body language would be confusing to predict, because A looks like B and B looks like C and C looks like D. So if he level changes, you might be thinking he's jabbing to the body, or you could think he's throwing an overhand, or you could think he's jabbing up top, or you could think he's throwing a left hook, or you could think he's just feinting. You don't know. And that constant guessing of everything looking the same makes him one of the harder fighters to fight against. That's why if people were saying that Arthur is like a journeyman, he's trash, it's like, well, he did the same thing to Canelo. He did the same thing to Zerdo. He does the same thing to almost everybody he faces. It's not that they're nobody, it's just that he makes them look that way because they don't know how to comprehend everything that's going on. Here's the important part. The basics shouldn't be overlooked, because the basics are the foundation to build complex artistry like what Bivol constantly displays. Fights in Science, Immortality Serum out.